Hello, the purpose of this case study was to find if charter schools in Texas receive an equitable share of funding. The conceptual framework I used to provide a foundation for this case study is neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is a philosophy that includes a marketization of the education sector. Other neoliberal measures in education include the intensification of standard testing and tracking, investment in charter schools or school choice, and privatization of school operations, which is commonly referred to as decentralization of governance. This movement for the marketization of public schools is becoming known as the accountability movement. The marketizing of educational reforms of standardized testing and tracking, charter school vouchers, and privatization are part of the broader context of neoliberal reform that involves deregulation and the decentralization of governance, effectively putting the decision-making authority in the hands of who knows what's best for their facilities. Charter schools and school choice provide more accountability and options for parents and families to have a high-quality education. The increased options for families pushes the whole education system to improve. The assumption made prior to the study is that the charter schools do not receive an equal share of funding compared to their traditional public school counterparts. What was found is the size of the school has the most influence on how much funding each school receives. Smaller school districts with enrollment less than 1,600 students receive more funding compared to their similarly sized schools, whereas larger charter school districts with enrollment of greater than 5,000 receive less funding than their counterparts. The problem associated with the inequities is related to the distribution of funds at the administrative level. Tier 1 funding is static for all charter schools regardless of size, whereas traditional public schools will receive funding based on the average daily attendance of their schools. Tier 2 funding is negatively affected by this formula because it is based on the average daily attendance count. Other inequities that surround charter schools are the politics. Houston city local officials have continually denied building permits for charter schools to build on their owned property for 10 years. Similar stories across the state still persist. If you only remember a few things from the study, please remember that charter schools do have accountability measures and have a flexible model that can accommodate different learning styles. They also have a proven track record of success. Charter schools have closed the gap in reading compared to their traditional public school counterparts. One model that has shown great success is the charter alternative education campuses that provide a non-traditional educational experience for those students identified at risk of dropping out for chronic poor academic performance or personal hardships such as incarceration and teen pregnancy. Charter alternative education facilities have shown an increase in retention of students and have done it at a lower cost point compared to their traditional public schools. Furthermore, increased flexibility with enrollment and freedom with operating strategies that are available to charter alternative schools are associated with increased cost effectiveness. Ways to address this problem for charter schools should include more transparency on the part of charter school systems, because charter schools in Texas have accountability measures such as mandatory closing if on the unacceptable list for a period of 3 years. Also, charter schools have to meet accountability measures similar to the traditional public schools. Also, funding for charter schools through the Foundation Schools program should mirror the distribution model of traditional public schools since they are considered a public school system.